Good evening. Welcome to the school committee meeting of June 20th, 2018. I'd like to remind everyone this meeting is being recorded. It is also being broadcast live, so keep that in mind. I would ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming. I'm going to jump around a little bit this evening for the sake of saving some of the personnel in this room some time and getting them back into the district in the morning. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of June 6, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? One abstention. Okay, Mr. Rogers, we have an ongoing conversation with Mr. Rogers about the scoreboard. He has some new information for us, so have at it.
Hoping this will be much quicker than last time. So last time I was here, I told you that we had one donation already in place for our scoreboard project, and we had one scoreboard bid that we had. Since that time, we've had a few more bids, a few more companies have presented, and the best one that we have, the one that I thought we were going to go with, actually doesn't play live video unless we do a huge upgrade to it. So the one that we want to go with is a Daktronics scoreboard, which you have in front of you, which, as Bob had referenced last time, the video monitor was kind of on the smaller side. This one's going to be close to 9 feet high, 8.5 feet high, and 16 feet wide. Much better quality board. Daktronics is represented by Scoreboard Enterprises in Mansfield, so if you have any problems, they come right over. They're really probably the most respected organization in the area. The downside to it is much more expensive, but we have 10 teams alone at Whitman-Hanson that will use this scoreboard, 10 programs, in addition to all the youth teams. I think it's a good investment. There are 6 sponsorship panels on it that I fully expect to be able to sell. I'm anticipating being able to bring in at least $60,000 in revenue on those panels over a period of time. We will also sell advertising revenue on the video monitor. And Christine Succo and I had talked about approaching the towns about them contributing just a little bit because it's a capital project, and that scoreboard was deemed to be needing to be replaced. So even if they kicked in just a little bit of the project, maybe even $20,000 of that, and the rest of it would be from the fundraising. So the reason why I'm here tonight is I'm just wanted you guys to be able to vote to give Christine the authority to enter into a lease agreement so that we don't pay all the costs up front. The scoreboard's going to cost close to $100,000. But it will not come out of the school's budget at all. It'll be through the fundraising that the panels that are on the board, and then through fundraising during the different events. The other thing that's going to be neat about this scoreboard, this video, we're going to be able to have, for example, one of the classes just approached me about wanting to do a movie night. They don't know it yet, but if I get this up in time, they'll be able to do the movie night with this. And also part of this project, probably at little to no cost, we're going to move our sound system to that end of the end zone. If you've ever been to our field, sound system is really poor. Part of the reason is it overwhelms you because it's right over you at the press box. So by being able to send it out that way, this whole project's going to make our field be something that will really be user-friendly. And as I mentioned, 10 of our 27 sports use that facility. Lots of kids, lots of community members. I think it's a great investment. So I'm just asking the committee to give Christine the authority to enter into a lease agreement for this project. It doesn't commit you to any money. It'll all be through fundraising.
I'd entertain a motion, Bob, but I'm going to spell it out a little bit different.
Oh, sure.
I'd entertain a motion from members of this board to have Christine enter into a lease agreement, but before we sign anything, I'd like her to come back to the committee with an exact figure
Bob, can I interrupt
on
you on that? The only reason why that does not work is, I mean, we could do that, but we will not have the score. In order for this to happen, in order for us to have this for the fall, I need to give them the purchase order like in the next couple of days. And even with that, it's not going to be done until late August. It's going to be pretty close. If we don't enter into the agreement right away, and I don't want to, I sound like the No offense to car salesmen. I sound like the guy saying, if I can do this deal for you today, but I can't do it for you tomorrow. But that is the reality. The other option that we have, because the reality of it is that scoreboard is not working. So the other option, I have two other options. Number one is I could repair that scoreboard to the tune of about $4,000 or $5,000, and it would get us through another year. And we could push this project off a year. It's kind of throwing, kind of a waste of money because that scoreboard is not good. The other thing we could do is we could replace that current scoreboard with the same kind of scoreboard for about $25,000, $30,000. Exact same scoreboard. The thought process of wanting to move to this is that you're going to see most schools that are going through school projects and whatnot going to this. One of the best reasons for it is you can display messages, safety messages, sportsmanship messages. It really will be something that the community will really enjoy, and it'll be great for school culture to be able to have that board. I know it's a lot of money, but again, it's something that we're committed to being able to raise it so you won't have to. And the other thing is, I think that over the long term, we're going to be able to make this be a revenue generator for us, that we can maybe bring some money into the athletic program for uniforms, which we currently don't fund. Right. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we still already have that $25,000 donation that's already there. I have at least one advertiser that has given me a verbal commitment, and I've approached a few others that seem interested. I think that, and I've had several parents that said they're going to help us sell the advertising. I think we're going to do okay selling it. I don't think it's going to be a big problem. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty confident. And if it doesn't, I'm committed as the athletic director to do fundraising to make sure that we pay it. It's going to benefit, as I mentioned, 10 teams and the youth programs. So I'm willing to commit to what I have to do to make this work for our kids, for our students.
Bob, next question.
Go ahead, I'm just doing the numbers.
Nope, that's fine.
I'm going to tell them what the lease agreement's going to be approximately, so go ahead.
Nope, that's fine. Just a couple of quick questions. First one would be life expectancy of it. Any idea or any idea how old the board is that we have now?
That board is at least 13 years old.
Okay.
Now that's old technology.
Yeah, right.
And that's like one of the problems. But they're telling me that we can expect to get 15 to 20 years out of it.
Okay. And do we have to do any maintenance to it or anything like that?
It comes with a 5-year warranty, and they're going to do 5-year
Updates,
reviews and things like that.
Okay. Do you mind asking if they do an extended warranty?
I can ask
Just-
that.
Sometimes
You might
that's
have
worth it to
yeah, you
do
might
it.
have to pay a little
Right, no, I
more,
understand that, but
they might
sometimes
offer
that might
that
be
if
worth
we-
it.
at a
Well, the
price.
6 panels, is
Yes.
that part of the sponsors you, like one of them?
Yes, each one of those panels that you see there would be a different sponsor.
Chris?
So just from a finance standpoint, you said enter into a lease, but then the towns would have to kick in potentially 20.
Well, they don't necessarily have to.
Okay.
So, I mean, I suppose if they're watching this, they'll say, well, they're already committing to fundraising for it. But just kind of like, I feel like that they should be on the hook for at least some of it, because it's a capital project at Whitman-Hanson. That's something that they would have to do. Now, we're getting something that is really nice. So we're actually replacing like, a little compact car with a big, luxury car. So I wouldn't want this to be the whole thing, like the town wanting to pay for this. But I do think approaching the town to say, whatever figure, Christine and I work on, and hopefully they'd agree to that.
But we're prepared to do
I'm
this
prepared.
without them.
Correct.
So this isn't, we're putting the cart in front of the horse, we're
No.
going to do it, and then go to them and say, hey,
No.
it would be nice.
Correct.
It just
Could
could be
make a
an
nice
option.
argument, but it's
Right.
not a
Yeah.
requirement.
Right.
Okay.
Mike?
Time frame to actually have, say everything went through, the time frame to get this up and running? What was your,
So here's what would happen is if you guys approve this tonight, I would write a purchase order tomorrow for them. And Christine and I would then work on the whole financing part of it. They would put the order in with Daktronics, and they said we could expect delivery of the scoreboard and all the components probably mid-August. Prior to that, though, Ernie and our facilities crew, and Ernie is, because they learned so much during the baseball, softball project, they're committed to putting the beams up, pulling the wires, so that really when it comes in, it's going to be a very short project to get it up, because the rest, the infrastructure of it will be done ahead of time. We would do that sometime in July, so that in August, once it arrives, we should have it up. And to me, I can never make a absolute promise, but I think it would be available for the first week of the season, which would be the first week of September.
thank you.
Anyone else? So, Ally, I'm sorry.
$100,000 to lease it, and I know that you said that you have a donation of $25,000 and you have one potential advertiser so far that's really interested.
Yep.
I know you said if you can't get enough, you'll go to fundraising, but what happens if you really can't get enough and then it goes to fundraising and you still can't get enough for that?
Well, the answer to that is I've raised all that. We do that already. Like, I do that already. Like, something I don't want to have to spend my whole life doing it, but we can do that. I mean, it's something that absolutely we can raise that money. You know, Bob is already committed to helping doing the fundraising. I've had several parents do it, and we've raised. Christine could tell you, we have a significant amount of money that we've raised already for other things. So it would just be a matter of redirecting some of our resources if we had to. I don't anticipate having to do that, though. Daktronics has done this across the country, these new scoreboards, and they have been revenue makers at virtually all of the schools that have put them in. Because it is, I mean, if you're it's usually like I'll give you an example. When a business decides to advertise, like in our yearbook or in our programs, like for the game, it's really a donation. Mm-hmm. Because not enough people see it to make it to be a valuable investment. This is something that, it's not a donation, it's a real advertising investment for that company. If we have 1,000 people at a football game on a Friday night that will be going someplace for dinner after the game, and they can have a special on that board that everybody in that stadium is going to see, people are going to want to advertise on it.
Now, forgive me, because I can't recall if we talked about this last time. When you do get businesses to advertise on this, what are the contract terms? How long?
So for everything that we come up with, you guys will ratify and approve. The policy is that you guys set the rates and all of that. We will be making proposals that you will then ratify and tell us if that's acceptable or not.
I think we have guidelines too, so.
Yeah, guidelines in terms of what can be advertised. Everything would be something that would be, acceptable for our community standards.
Bob, so you're entering really, if you have $25,000 already, are you planning on putting $25,000 down and entering into a $75,000 lease agreement?
Yes.
Because that's how I figured the numbers. If you enter a lease agreement for approximately 5 years, the payment is $1,250 a month, roughly, depending on the lease agreement, depending on the credit structure of the lease agreement. If you do it for 10 years, it's obviously going to be $625 a month, depending on the lease agreement, depending, I know what our bond rating is, and
Yeah, that's what we need to work out, the details.
Right.
Yeah.
I still want to be involved in this lease agreement. I know that you guys want to sign it, but I don't know. We're committing the district to something that we're voting on signing a lease.
Bob, I'm fine with that. I mean, like I said, the other option is here's the thing is we can't get this year if we don't do this tonight. But we can go ahead and repair the scoreboard and go a year like that and try to do this next year. That's something we can clearly do. So if you feel more comfortable with that, I'm fine with that.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying I want everybody to know what they're getting. I'm not afraid of any of it. I'm just...
So let me ask a quick question, I guess more for you two. I know you want to start cutting the PO and stuff tomorrow. How quick is this company able to give you the lease terms? Because my thought would be is you do a subcommittee that you're on and
Robbie,
another one or two people.
Robbie, what will actually happen on the lease, they will offer a lease deal to us, but Christine and I or anybody, we can shop that. It's just a standard lease agreement. It's just a standard way to finance something similar to what Chad has done with computers.
Okay.
So it's really not, it's not something that's really that complicated. It's just a matter of, hey, this is what we have. These are the terms that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Bob first, then.
Bob?
Yeah, after listening to it, it sounds to me like Chris and Bob have everything pretty much ironed out. And I think I have a lot of faith in their decision as to, it appears they feel as though it's the best interest of the school committee. I understand your point of view, but I think if we want to get that accomplished, I think I would feel good to vote for that tonight to push it ahead. instead of maybe wasting the money to repair the old scoreboard.
Yeah, I want to repair a board.
It appears to me that this thing seems to be working in the right direction.
You know, the scoreboard, we wouldn't be putting it in the same spot. We wanted to relocate.
We're going to move it to the
better
right.
positioning.
We're going to move it to the right. I mean, like I said, there's all kinds of, like, if we took the current structure and we took that scoreboard off and just put one on there, it would be very cost-effective, and we would have a working scoreboard. But, like, you're shaking your head because you don't like it, and I don't like it, nobody likes it. But that is, if it's just a dollar-cents thing, we could do that. But we're going to move it to the right of the
Right.
flagpole
Yeah.
so people can see it. And that's why this project's a lot more costly.
So if we had to push it, it was delayed, could you still open it like mid-season with the new one?
We could, but again, that's going to add, you know, it's going to cost thousands of dollars to fix the other scoreboard to get it ready for the season. So it's just a matter of, do we want to throw that money there? But to answer your question, we can definitely do that. We could do that. We could table this until September, and then maybe we get it in for Thanksgiving or the last couple games of the season.
Well, what is the actual cost to buy this?
So for this model.
Not lease agreement, just to buy.
Well, just to buy it is $100,000.
It is.
Yeah, and that includes all of the components to it. Doesn't include the installation, but it includes the wireless controllers, the module to do the video, the software that runs it, all of that. They gave me several different proposals. The real good, the best one was about $140,000. So the one that was a little bit lower than this was like $92,000, but the board was significantly smaller. This one seems to be the best bang for the buck.
What is the downside of purchasing it versus a lease agreement?
Well, we could purchase it, but I don't really have the money to purchase it right now.
Leases over time.
So really, Mike, that's really all that it is. I mean,
Okay.
what could happen in this whole process is if in the next month, which is what I'll be working on, trying to sell those, if all of a sudden I have great success, then this might not even end up turning into a full lease.
Yeah.
Or we might lease it and with
Is it leased to
non-penalty to
own?
pay it off faster.
Yes, it's lease to own. So we would own it for $1 once
Yeah.
once.
Just wanted to make that clear so people didn't.
Yeah, it's an ending lease. It's
Yes.
a 5-year end.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a continued lease, it ends.
Right.
Yeah, and it could,
It's a scoreboard loan.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
Bob, do you have any estimates or projections as to what you would expect to raise per panel, or?
Well, each one of those panels, we're hoping to get between $10,000 and $25,000 for a 10-year agreement for them to be part of our. If you think about it, if it was only $10,000 and they had that there for 10 years, that's only $1,000 a year to be at hundreds and hundreds of events.
Yeah.
But even if we went with that low amount, that's a lot of money. Would get us that means those panels would have generated $75,000 if it's only a $10,000 commitment.
Plus all the additional advertisement.
And all the other
between
additional
periods.
video advertisements that will be included in it.
Chris?
So I think overall, this is an absolutely fantastic project. 100% support of it. My only concern is the timing and the obligation of the district. So I know it's tough. We have a lot of financial pressures on us and where we're spending money.
I understand.
And so, as I think about that, that's where I say, I'm a little bit more leaning towards a pause. I know we might have to put some money into it, but really try and raise the money to the point where we actually have the money and have the ability to maybe purchase it, and we're not, because at the end of the day, the problem that I'm hearing with this whole discussion is if we can't raise the money, the district is on the hook. The district is entering into the lease.
I guess, Chris, the reality of that is if I were to leave, then yes, you guys would be on the hook. But if I'm the athletic director, I'm going to be raising the money for it, as we've done with lots of different projects that we've had. And one thing I can tell you about the athletic department is we've had to raise money to sustain. In fact, Christine, I had to give how much money this year to the school? To pay-
$40,000.
How much?
$40,000.
$40,000 extra because the school budget didn't meet our needs, so I had to come up with $40,000 for that. So we will make the money.
I get it, and I respect
No, and I
it.
understand,
But the athletic department is not signing the lease.
correct.
And we are under a lot of financial constraints as a committee and as a district.
And I will not be,
Committing-
and I'm not offended at all if you guys decide you want to have that pause. It is just like, the question is it a fiscally sound thing to do the pause? But if we do it, that's.
It's hard,
I'm completely,
because the project itself, I think, is a fantastic project.
Yep.
My 2 cents.
Anyone else? Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to authorize Bob and Christine to enter into a lease agreement with Daktronics,
It actually will be with Scoreboard Enterprises.
Scoreboard Enterprises. It's a Daktronics sign, the Scoreboard Enterprises. And anyone else can make this motion if they'd like to, but you already have a commitment of $25,000, correct?
Yes,
For $75,000. Does that
that would be good.
cover it?
Yep.
For $75,000 or less.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? Does anyone want to add into this part for the money to be raised by the athletic department? Into the motion that I just mentioned
That would be good.
for the
Yeah, we can
funds?
put that in there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that should be in there.
Is everybody's, you're saying yes? Chris, do you have a question?
And I'll second that. If she's motioning it, I'll second it. To add that in.
I'll add that to the motion that the funds are to be raised by the athletic department.
So you gotta vote on the amendment, then you gotta vote on the,
I'll withdraw the first one. Somebody want to withdraw the first and the second?
Withdraw.
Second.
The motion will read, Michelle, will you read it back to me and add what I just said?
The motion to authorize the athletic director and the director of business services to enter into a lease agreement with Scoreboard Enterprises for a new scoreboard at the cost of $75,000, fundraising events, via fundraising events by the athletic department. Is that right? I'll tweak it a little bit.
And you making the motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Somebody
Second.
second it? Discussion?
Yeah, so thank you for pushing me in that direction. I like where we're going. So the question is logistically, how would that work? So based upon that motion, are we saying that no matter what, the athletic department is going to have to pony up
I would say
the
so.
dough?
yep.
I would say so.
I'm good.
And Chris, the other thing I would say,
No, because I think, I like what you said, and I trust what you said, but we have to make sure that we're
And I'm with
doing
you.
it the right way. So
And I'm with
I
you.
think that gets us there,
100%.
from my perspective.
And just if I could add something too, I know, Bob, you talked about possibly it being a capital request that would go to the towns. This is nothing they have ever seen on the capital matrix. So I think I'd be much more comfortable as well with the idea that the athletic department would be responsible. I think if we were to come up with, in addition to all these other capital expenses
Okay.
we have, we also need about 20K for a scoreboard. That might not go over very well.
Okay.
Anyone else before I move to the vote?
No, I think we could manage with fundraising.
I do too. I just want to make sure that it doesn't,
No, but
Have the wrong
you have to
feel.
have our balance, we have to have a check in
right?
there to make sure we're
Fundraise
not on the hook.
that's
terms of
what
the
I'm
Absolutely
saying.
could be. Sure.
Okay, any further discussion?
Probably will.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to take so much of your time.
Okay.
So take your time.
I'm going to move to the superintendent's report, but I would ask that the superintendent do the introduction of the new principal first, and then please move to McQuon School closing and transition.
Okay, happy to do that. We are delighted this evening to introduce you to Dr. Darlene Foley, who will be the new principal of the Duval School. I don't know if Jeff wants to come up and say a few words as well.
Now, this is Darlene's our last solidification of the team. So we are, it's been a long month and a half or so. Some great candidates, but I think we've got the cream of the crop. And we're going to get together the first week of July when everybody's around and start drafting our plan for opening and next school year. But I thought Darlene, our interactions have been wonderful. She's already been over to McQuon and Indian Head looking at some of our special programs that are transitioning. That was the first thing out of her mouth. When can I see the kids that are coming to my school? And then we went over to Duval. So I think it's a good fresh start already.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really excited to be working at Duval. I feel that it's already a very special place, and I've met terrific people both at Duval and at the other two schools and at the central office, and I feel very supported already, and I feel welcome, and I really appreciate that. I think we're going to have a great year.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, the next thing we're going to be talking about is the McQuon School closing and transition. Just to give you a quick overview, we've been meeting weekly. On Monday, we toured the preschool area. Very excited about the work that's being done there. If you have a chance, get Ernie to take you through, Jeff can take you through, just to get a sense of what's going on there. They're working on the playground. They're going to have to do some work to level that up. That's working. I'm sure you did not miss the fact they're doing something with the road out in front. Next week, now that the students will be gone and have finished their exams, the trees that are in that area will be taken down, and then the loop will go around. We are indebted to the town of Whitman for their dedicated effort in getting on top of this project, and what they've done as an in-kind contribution has saved this project an awful lot of money. So I'm very happy with the work from the DPW and the things that Bruce Martin and those folks who've worked so closely with Ernie. We also spent time going over to Indian Head School. The new restrooms are just about finished. They just look fantastic. They were putting the tiles in. Maureen McKenzie's freezer is up and running. The music room has been converted into 2 good-sized classrooms. The technology room also will be converted. Very excited that that's moving along as well. You will see pink bins everywhere you go. The McQuon folks are getting ready to move over to Indian Head. Ernie and Beth Wilcox went through each classroom, worked with teachers in terms of what was going to the famous Ernie Sandland yard sale, and what it's going to be a big one, and then what was actually going over to the Indian Head School. We've also been working on what goes from Indian Head School to the Hanson Middle School. The one issue that did come up was an issue of chairs. So my question was, what are they sitting on now? And they said chairs. And we said, okay, so let's look at what we have, but ultimately if there's a need for more chairs, that will probably come back to the board for your discussion. On Monday evening, we held a meeting, transition meeting for parents of students who are going in from the 4th grade into the 5th grade at the Hanson Middle School, and then also the students who are transitioning from the McQuon School to the Indian Head School. Bill Tranter led the first part of the meeting, went very well, took folks down to see the area of 5th grade, and then the second part meeting, we addressed the questions and concerns of the parents of the McQuon School students. One of the issues that came up, which is why we have some folks here this evening, was really the issue of open house. Traditionally, Whitman-Hanson, it started the first year I was superintendent. Open house was moved to the night before school was to open. Prior to that, it had been after the opening of school. The principals who brought that forward, Elaine White and Ellen Stockdale, believed that it was better for students to have an opportunity to see the school right before it started, that might help with some anxiety before the first day of school. It's worked very, very well over the years. However, this year it's a little bit different because we have the changes and the transitions that are going on. In May, and a number of people are here this evening who went to that meeting, Jeff, Chad, Christine, I was there, and a number of other administrators met with McQuon and Indian Head staff because we had been given a list of questions and concerns from Kevin Kafka that our teachers had about the move. And we probably spent a good 60 minutes answering questions. One of their biggest concerns was open house. They had a significant amount of anxiety with the pressure of moving classrooms from one location to another and also within the building and not being ready for open house. And I think we heard this with a lot of angst and anxiety. So their request was, could they possibly move open house to another date? That discussion went on for a period of time to see what other options might possibly be out there. Their reason for concern, and we were talking about it today, was they know their rooms have to be ready for the first day of school. But when their rooms are ready for open house, they want the bulletin boards up, they want to give the best possible look at a classroom, and I think there were concerns that it wouldn't look the way they wanted it to look, and they would not feel as comfortable with it. So that's where that conversation came up. When it did come up on Monday evening, I was naive because I believed that parents already knew this. So when I saw that parents didn't already know this, I was surprised. I don't think that's anyone's fault. We have a big transition going on with Dr. Wilcox leaving and going to Hingham, and with Jill Cotreau coming to us from the Cape. I think that's been one of the challenges here. And Jeff, I don't know if you'd like to add anything to this, because you've been just as involved as I have
Part
in
of
this.
that, too, came out of that, what's an alternative to the traditional open house? So one of the teachers kind of came up with something. In my district, what they do is the week before, kids come in the building, we have under construction signs all over, and middle school kids walk the students through. And they get to see their classroom, they get to do all these things. So I threw that idea out there to Jill. I said, I think parents are going to want to come to school. I think that's a part of it. I think the teachers aren't going to be ready because they're literally opening boxes the week before. The building might not be turned over or ready for especially at certain classrooms in India until middle August. We said August 1st for them to go in, take a day during the summer and unpack. We're not sure yet. We're hoping. So to come up with an alternative was something that Jill came up with and said, look, we can have the open house the night before. I'll be there. The new assistant principal will be there. New superintendent will be there. We're going to have ice cream. And what I'd like to do is show the students around, have some middle school students or the students who are moving from 4th grade to 5th grade or 5th grade to 6th grade who have been in Indian Head, show the younger students around where they're going to be, then just kind of showcase the playground. Because I think that's going to be an eye catcher once you walk into Indian Head. And nobody's really going to have that access yet. So I don't know if Jill wants to do a ribbon cutting or people from town want to do a ribbon cutting because this is a town project. We can showcase that open house that night as a welcome back, welcome to the school, meet the new principal. Your teachers won't be there. They'll be there in mind and spirit, but they won't be there. Welcome for the next day. And then a week later, and I was thinking about this on the way here because this is what my kids do in Pembroke, is the week later we go on the 6th of September and my son and my daughter can tell me where they sit. Mm-hmm. We sit down and we go through an agenda with the teacher, with my son and daughter there. So it's a little bit different, and it's something we can maybe revert back to next year depending on feedback. Sometimes change is good, sometimes change needs to be modified. But there will be an opportunity, I think, for students to go. Well, I don't think this is going to happen if this is where we want to go to. There'll be an opportunity that Indian Head School will be open up on the 28th. I don't know time yet. I'd like to showcase it. I know Jill spoke to the PTO president. She's already planning a barbecue for that secondary open house and then doing some ice cream during the first. So I know there was some miscommunication or lack of communication, for better terms, but I think it's an opportunity to do something different because there is some change. I mean, I'll just look at myself. I'm boxing up my office, and it's a voluntary move to go upstairs, and I'm having a tough time boxing up everything, and I don't have the stuff in a classroom that somebody's been for 20 years. So give them that opportunity to feel comfortable. My priority on the 27th and 28th for my teachers is to be prepared for students on that Wednesday, to have a welcome back, welcome to our new school with a lot of energy. And that's my focus, and I know parent concerns and anxiety concerns are there. I want to find a balance there so that kids' anxieties can be relieved and my staff anxiety can be relieved because they're also going to someplace new. And they're really going into it over the summer with an empty spot and trying to develop a classroom. So that's where I'm coming from. And I really felt from the staff, it wasn't a, hey, let's try to avoid this. Let's try to do it the best we can and make sure that my room is ready for my showcase. And I don't know, and if you work with elementary teachers, that anxiety is there. It's real, that they want to show their best classroom for parents and for kids and be ready for kids on that next day.
That's sort of where that all stands at this point. I don't think anything's written in stone. And we certainly understand that there are concerns, but this is a unique year. I think the understanding, as Jeff said, it would be reevaluated. It doesn't, to look at in the future.
Bob? Having lived through that, we were a K-6 system where I taught, and we became a middle school system, a 6, 7, 8 system. And we had to box up our materials. We had to bring them, store them. And generally what happened is that the students during the summer would come into the middle school and just get a flavor of what the school is. Sometimes there'd be what do you call it, a move-up day, where the 5th graders would come in, and then during the summer they would have a second chance to come in, and new students come in. And then I believe the first open house was approximately about a week afterwards, for the simple reason that it's very difficult to store your stuff, get your stuff, get into a new classroom, and being an elementary teacher, you know, you put up 1,000 bulletin boards, things on the desk, and so on and so forth. So I would certainly support that, just to have the teachers not have to be there, that traditional way that it's been in Whitman for a long time. I really believe that they would need that extra time. So as a former teacher who lived through that, I would say the more time they have to get themselves prepared, the better. It just makes for a much better transition.
And the other one thing that I would suggest, and this is, I had to do this with my own son, is that he had trouble with transitions. So we would call ahead over the summer, and we would go in with him and meet the principal and walk the building just separately, instead of in mass.
Right.
Didn't work in mass. So that was something, and I would offer that up to any student in the district, if they need that, because it's okay to call up the building principal. We have 4 new ones in the district, so maybe moms and dads can get to meet that principal too, a little one-on-one time, and walk the building, get some thoughts. So that's something, if you're a parent that has a student that's like, I was really looking forward to that, what am I going to do? We can go that ahead of time, and we can walk through, and we can figure it out. I think a lot of the students know the faces. I think this would be different, in my opinion, a little bit, if we were moving Indian Head over to Conley, and it was all new faces, and it was across town. But most of the teachers are moving up. There's going to be very few switches in between, so there should be some familiar faces. Just my 2 cents. And again, nothing's set in stone, and what we don't have here is Jill to kind of come up with an alternative or give her feedback. But this is what she threw out to us. We actually discussed it a couple weeks ago. We put it in writing the other day just to make sure there was some a firmness to this. And it's something that this is the plan that we're going to move forward with, unless we need to deviate. And again, deviation is something that I'm used to as well.
Jeff, would it be a problem? I mean, I'm not sure how much teachers have to box up, Bob, you know.
Well, it depends. If you've taught for a long time, you have a lot of things to box up, and you have a lot of things you'll probably say, I haven't used this in 4 or 5 years, and to get rid of it. So it sounds easier than what it actually is, believe it or not. So you go through your stuff, you get tons of stuff, believe me, and you'd probably start throwing stuff away, saving stuff, box it up. And then they say, okay, the building will be ready a certain date. It might not be ready that day, so that's in the back of your mind as well. You want to get in there and you want to get things done, and you might not be able to because of certain things.
I guess my theory is, would it help if we hired someone to help these teachers get this stuff from building to building so this can be done?
We did hire someone.
Not going to like that.
And so,
Well, we already
business
have.
manager's not
I
gonna
mean,
like that.
that's already in place.
Yeah,
We've got people
hired
moving.
That's in
someone.
place.
Yeah.
All the
Hired someone to
moving.
move their stuff.
We
That's
have
not the
movers.
problem.
It's the
okay, I'm looking for a way to help them to make this transition, because I had several phone calls and people are concerned.
Yeah.
Anybody else before I?
Yeah.
Mike?
Moving, Whitman's still going to have their open house the
They're
night.
doing exactly the way it always has. They don't have the transitions and
And this-
decided that they wanted to keep it that way. We gave them the option. We talked to Karen, she's right here, and she had the option of whatever she wanted, whatever seemed.
And this isn't a financial issue with the union at all.
It could be, where the piece is, that when you do move someone physically, like we're doing, they do receive an additional personal day, because we understand. So, I mean, a lot of things are in place already, Mike, yeah. So, I mean, if they were to come and we do this on that night and they're asked to come and be there, then that would be their open house. We certainly wouldn't have a second one, or you would have to compensate them in another way.
I just, looking at it, you were saving the district money, Whitman and Hanson. It's just, we sit here, we listen to curriculum coordinators go, Whitman and Hanson have the same education.
Yeah, I mean, this
same
is no, I don't think it's monetary at all.
And you know, and I
No.
think one of the things, I think I mentioned this to the committee or one-on-one when we were talking, we're going to really try to solidify the district, and I know there's some things that we're running separately, not a way that I like them to run. We have 4 or 3 new two new elementary principals in Karen. They're going to work together. We have 2 middle school, 1 new, 1 returning, and a new high school guy. We're going to try to work together to make sure everything is satisfactory to everyone. This is a unique situation. When I found out that the open house was on that Tuesday night, I kind of raised my eyebrow, because that's a challenge on a teacher. I know, being a teacher, you know, being in here for 2 days of PD, wanting to go home and get a good night, because the next day is, I don't know, for me, still, I don't sleep the night before school starts, because you're excited, you're anxious, you're nervous, all the feelings that go through, just like a kid. Kid has the same thing. So if we can do a soft opening for the students, And again, trying to focus in on something in the school, make them comfortable. And I was just thinking about the playground itself. That might be a real good draw for them to open up that playground that night with an ice cream social, meeting the new administrators, and then rolling in the door next, and then structuring the open house a little bit differently in the second week of September, and then revisiting it. I know when we met, when I introduced Darlene to the Duval staff, there was a little rumbling about open house there as well. And Darlene's an IT person and was going to form a Google Doc and send it out as a little survey over the summer to see where people were at, and she's putting together a transition team. But there is a little rumbling too. Is this is this working for everyone? It started 9 years ago. Maybe it's time we revisit. Right now, we're in a state at Conley where Karen wants to do it. We're in a good spot. We have a new principal at Duval and a new principal at Indian Head. Indian Head's a unique situation because we're closing a building and moving a lot of folks. And I think Bob's point is on point. I'm hoping, because they asked me, is it going to be open August 1st? Yes. We're hoping all the classrooms are going to be there. Ernie's focusing SJ Services on the cleanliness and the building and construction of Indian Head. Hopefully it'll all be all set. And then they're going to come in and move and do things. And knowing the teachers that we have, 90% will probably be ready to go, but maybe not to the extent of what they want to showcase to the community at that point.
Chris? And then
So I think there's, so to me, there's two different issues here. There's the normal open house that occurs on a normal year, and then there's this year, right? So this year is not a normal year. I think everyone recognizes there's a lot going on. There might be some 12-hour things that have to happen. So I think for this year, doing something fantastic, but I am a huge proponent of that open house the night before. I think doing what's best for kids. Everyone's focused the night before school from a parent and a student standpoint is school. But there's nothing else on the calendar. No, there's nothing else going on. Everyone is focused on school the next day. And I think, getting everyone together in that environment, it's always been awesome. And I've talked to folks within district and other districts. I have colleagues, they tell me about their open house 2 weeks into it. And they're like, oh, you do it the night before? That's awesome. Second week, it's football, basketball, baseball, band. You don't get the same. Very good point. So,
good point.
That's my piece. I'm interested to hear what other folks have to say.
Chris?
Yeah, so I guess I'm not completely understanding the concerns that were brought up. It sounds like a pretty reasonable solution to a situation we have at hand, and particularly allowing people to come in during the summer, and if there's any anxiety concerns or anything like that. I just feel like I might be missing what the concerns that were brought up.
Chris, I think it's the opportunity for the students to meet the teacher the night before.
Mm-hmm.
If the teachers aren't required to come the night before, some will come, some won't, then some students may meet their teachers and some won't. And I think that's the underlying concern. Yeah, sure. Darlene has a...
Meeting at Duval. I did investigate. I talked to Julie, and Duval's open house will stay as planned the night before. So I didn't want anybody hearing on cable to be worried that that might change. So it stings.
Okay.
So
Ally?
the problem is not having teachers there for open house for the children to meet, right? So what if for those teachers that can't be there, it's just a thought, have like a little, have them make like a poster board of here's my picture and here's a little bit, something fun about me type of thing. If they can't be there, that would, yeah.
We're open options. We can play around. This is just one solution. We came up with a solution. A concern came up from parents. Want to hear the voices of the parents. And now we're trying to brainstorm solutions that's going to work for everyone involved. I think it's a unique circumstance. And it's a situation we can brainstorm and come up with a solution that's working for everyone.
I know my daughter in years past, being in Whitman-Hanson, would receive a letter from her teacher over the summer, just the teacher introducing him or herself, saying, this is who I am. I'm so excited to, have you in my classroom type of thing. Maybe they could do that as well instead.
It's a nice thing.
Anyone else on the committee before I open it up? Please give us your name and... Yeah.
It's like town meeting.
Kind of, sort of. Step right up to the microphone, too, so whoever's watching.
Can I move it? All right.
You're good.
So my name is Melissa Valkovic, and I am a resident of Hanson. I have a son who is going into first grade, and our youngest will be going to preschool. So we are actually very involved in a lot of the changes because we will be moving one from Mequon to the high school and one from Mequon to the Indian Head. So I think, hearing everything that everybody said, we heard stuff on Monday night and now from Mr. Simonak. Okay. It looks a little different than the way it's written. I think as a parent, just having the opportunity for my child to meet the person that they will be spending the rest of the next 180 school days with the night before relieves a lot of anxiety. They know who that point person is going into the school year. I know that when I put him on the bus, he will be going, he'll hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that he's going to a particular classroom with a particular face that will be greeting him and being there. I also want to say that, so I am a former teacher. I taught for 12 years, and I have done both the moving of a classroom within a building and moving a classroom to another building. So I'm very privy to the amount of feelings that teachers are having about this. But I also think that there's so much change happening for Hanson elementary students, so much change. We're losing an elementary school. We're losing a principal, gaining a new principal. We're also gaining a new assistant principal. We're opening a new playground. We're getting a new superintendent. There are a lot of changes that are facing families and students in Hanson in particular. And I just, I heard about change is good, and I agree with that, but I'm not sure that so much change at one time is good. So having one thing that's stable, continuing the open house as is with the teachers coming that night. I don't think any of the parents, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I don't think any of the parents expect perfect bulletin boards and things to be pretty. We just want our students, our children, to meet the person that they will be working with for the next school year and to feel comfortable with that. It's been, this will be my third open house, and the past two have been nothing but helpful for my children, for me. I am a little bit selfish in this. I want to see the person that's going to be working with my son because we sent him on the bus. I don't want to be waiting a couple weeks to get that face-to-face. And I just think it's a really important aspect, and I think it's a great thing that our school offers. And to kind of take that away this year, I don't know that that's the right call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm Shannon McLaughlin. I also have 2 children in the school district. One is going to the middle school, and one is going to be moving over to the Indian Head as a second grade student. Not much to add to what Melissa said. I think she captured it well. I would just say I think the open house has proven to be a really effective strategy for managing those first day jitters. New parents in town, get to meet people. I think it just does something to relieve stress. And I would just say, I think you're getting more kids on the buses, fewer tears those first few days by allowing them to meet the teacher. I heard a few different personal stories about it over the past week, as we just started talking to people, and someone said, I had this teacher had a reputation for being really tough. My child was so nervous about to go into the school. Then they met the person, and they put a personal connection there, and she eased his fears. So that child was able to get on the bus without an issue. I just think it sounds so small, but little things like this really help a wider population than you might realize. And I would just say, I think, building on what Melissa said, you have people who support the teachers there tremendously. We certainly are not the types to normally go against what the teachers want here, and that's not our intent. I think we're just asking for reconsideration because it's just something that I think we want to prioritize the children's anxiety in this case. Bulletin boards, to me, they're nice, but it's not as important as just that personal connection. There's just no taking away from that. So if this could be considered, I think that would be helpful. I think the other thing that came up is just some technical things we've done in the district, which kindergarten students would get their bus passes. So you'd get this little apple with the name and everything on it. Taking that away the first day, I'm not sure how we would get that information because I know sometimes getting things through the mail, things can get confused. I just think the open house is another way of making sure that we button everything up before that first day. So thank you for giving us a chance to speak tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Wright. I'm also a Hanson resident. I have a little boy going into second grade, and I have a fourth grader who's moving up to the middle school. I just want to also add that one of the things the kids get to do usually at open house is see the bus and get on the bus, so it alleviates that anxiety for them if they're kindergartners and haven't actually been on the bus before, you know, or see their big brother and sister get on it, but some kids have a lot of anxiety about that. And I know you guys all realize this, but the only kids in Indian Head that will have been in Indian Head are the kids who are in third grade now, going into fourth grade. Kindergarten, first and second and third grade, all those kids are at McQuon now. So they have very limited knowledge of the school. They have very limited, I mean, they went a couple weeks ago to go over and see the school. They've maybe been over there for a book fair, but they don't have any real sense of the space or where anything in the building is. Not to say that the idea of having some other sort of open house for them over the summer isn't a good idea. I actually don't necessarily think it's a bad idea. I just think for our children, with so much change that they've gone through really over the last 4 years in the Hanson school system, between the different principals and all the different changes that have happened, I think at this point in time, I just don't feel like this is the best decision to change for them when it's kind of a routine for them to go there and meet their teachers the night before school. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robbie?
So a couple of things. First, the way I found out about it was from an email this morning. Chris, I know you got it, Bob, I know you got it, so I'm texting Bob going, what's this? So just for anybody else, I have a son that's going to be a sophomore, knows the high school inside and out more than I wish he did sometimes, but I've got a first grader that's going to Indian Head, third that's going to fourth, and fourth that's going to fifth at the middle school. I'm not so concerned with the fifth grader. They get to go see it. It's more parent anxiety that happens with fifth grade than it is the kids. That happens. As far as the bus goes, you don't want kids on the bus for what they learn, but anyway. I would much rather have the open house the way we've done it in the past. I guess my question is for Ruth and Jeff. I know we do professional development that first day or two ahead of time. Is there a way to, I don't know, modify that for the Indian Head school teachers so that they can do some of their setting up their classroom and stuff then? I mean, I don't know whether teacher credit goes towards that or anything like that. I don't know anything about that, but are we able to modify that at least and hopefully it doesn't create a union issue or anything, but that the Indian Head school teachers are exempt from it or able to not attend it so that they can then set up their classrooms so that then we can do the open house like we've done in the past. And I don't know if that's a logistical nightmare for you.
I think, opportunity is we can modify everything.
Okay.
The one person that's not here is the new principal, and I want to get her involved.
Yeah, no, I get
So I
that.
hear your concerns, and I want to bring them to Jill, and we can powwow and figure it out. And I have 2 elementary principals here that can help solve that problem as well. We can modify things. My concern is for the people on the ground who are unpacking those pink bins.
Right.
Some of which have 80.
Yeah.
Okay, they're supposed to have,
They're
I
not
have 5.
supposed to have 80.
Yeah.
But we have a tremendous amount there. We can try to figure something out. If this is something that is if parents feel strongly about it, and, hey, we want to do the best for our kids, especially around social emotional. That's one of our pillars. That's what we want to do. I want to find a balance. So I hear exactly what you're saying. I want to bring it back. Guess what's tomorrow? The last day of school.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
we're going to juggle some things. So I can't have an answer for folks tomorrow. I need to process this, get some information, brainstorm what we want to do, and then get the information out there. It will get out there. It'll be out there probably via email, and it'll probably come out on social media, what we're going to do, and have some modifications. Maybe we'll do another thing over the summer as well. Maybe we'll do traditional. Maybe we'll do a couple of other things to make that, because I heard you clear about the transition piece and the anxiety piece. So I don't want to make a decision for Jill. I don't want to set her up with a faculty that we've already kind of said, this is the groundwork that we had, but I also can go to the faculty and say, we've heard some concerns from some parents, because we didn't communicate well enough with the community in May when we had this conversation. So we're going to stop that, we'll own that piece of it, and then try to make do as we go. Now, probably not going to please everybody, all right?
No,
So we're
no
gonna
matter
put
what you're
something
doing.
together in the best interest of kids that's going to work. With our association, I'm not worried about the contract piece. We'll make teachers whole if we need to do that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That'll be something. It's just the physical nature of getting people in the building in August to unpack those boxes. Now, to answer your question, Bob, we sent over some AP language kids who needed some community service last week to McQuant to move boxes. We got
plenty
we
of
got
help.
boys and girls moving boxes to help out. True community effort. But I need to make sure, because teachers do have plans, and they've been asked to give up a day in August. We're compensating them with a PD, or with a personal day. However, we all know that when we're on vacation, we're in vacation mode, and it's hard to break away from family. Now, I might ask them, can you do another half, or can you do another? We'll work that out financially, we'll feel it out, but I think it's an opportunity to have this discussion with Jill, get some community input. We have that, we've heard, and now we have to make some decisions on how to help.
And she's aware that there is this concern, because Jeff and I both communicated with her today, so.
No, and that's fine.
And she wants to get off to the best possible start,
Yeah.
too. That's
No, I get that.
Okay.
And I know she's going to have she's going to open it up to parents over the summer, so it's a meet and greet for her. So it's not, you're not walking in the first day and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so. She's going to have that. In fact, probably all 4 principals are going to open up to the community to say, hey, this is who I am and this is where we are.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Great, thanks. Thank you all for coming.
Please keep us abreast.
We will.
Whether it's via email and also with the community piece too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good Twitterer.
Thank you.
Yeah, he'll keep you in the loop.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Just very quickly, to finish up a couple of things, we also have 2 searches that are ongoing for assistant principal at Indian Head and assistant principal at Whitman Middle School. They are making excellent progress, and I assume we'll have a communication for you within the next week or so, provided things go according to plan. Every year, we talk to you about the summer programs. I'm certainly not going to go through all of them, but I will let you know that this building is going to be used close to 100%, because it does have central air. It's a very wonderful place to do summer learning. The extended school year program will be here. We're going to be having a variety of other things. We have our traditional science camp that John Rosen does. Julie Gillia, one of our business teachers, will be doing work with kids on 3D printing. We have our summer grant program for that Maureen Leonard heads up. She's talked to you about that before. We also have numerous sports camps, and we also host DARE. In addition to that, Camp Conley, I see Karen, who's the head camper, will be at Camp Conley, and that's a really cool program for kids. It's also partially funded by Title I, so it does provide students with enrichment, but also with support skills as well, so we've got that going on. Hanson Middle School is having a program in the mornings for kids that are doing more athletic type things. Whitman Middle doesn't have a program, but Bill Tranter's happy to take any Whitman Middle students who might want to go to Hanson Middle for those programs. So a variety of things going on this summer. We also, as you know, have a growing number of English language learners. We get grant money through a federal grant called Title III that North River coordinates for us, and we're going to be running summer English camp. And Mike Caponigro, who is one of our ESL tutors, has a wife who's a graphic artist, and she created this, which is why I'm showing it. But we have that to help our students who need to really work on their English skills so that they'll be in good shape over the summer. So there's a lot going on. When you come up to this building in July, it looks like school's in full session. So it's going to be a busy time. Ernie Sandland's been working with his group to make sure things are clean and ready to go for the start of the school. I just want to very quickly give you an update on the regional agreement amendment. We have contacted the town administrators in both Whitman and Hanson, as well as the chairs from the boards of selectmen, to ensure that they now take the approved agreement that you all voted, that all 3 legal councils have looked at, and that they need to re-vote it. So that's something we need to pay attention to, make sure it gets on the agenda for the both of the boards. And the plan would be that at their next scheduled town meetings, this will then be voted. Department of Education has already approved it. So just wanted to keep you updated on that that's been done. And we did the scoreboard project. And we are up to job descriptions with Chad.
Okay. In your packet, you found 2 job descriptions and drafts. Chad, do you need those voted this evening?
Please.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to accept the first job description.
So moved.
Second.
Which one is that? Tell me.
Associate Director of Technology.
Director of Technology Services.
Associate Director.
Yes.
Associate Director.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Who motioned it?
I did.
Ellie did.
No, it came from you.
Who seconded
Ellie
it?
and Robbie.
Robbie. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Next position
Data Specialist.
is a data specialist. An entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Ally Boyd.
You got it? Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
One
One
more.
more. Information
What
System.
did I do?
There you go.
Information Systems Specialist. An entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Acceptance of gifts.
You want to do the vehicle?
Oh, yeah.
That's the updated agenda. So it's in your handout.
Here, you want to do this one. This is
This-
the green project.
The
for
green
Hanson.
project, if you look in your packets, it's about a 15-pager about efficiency, green vehicles. I believe Whitman has already accepted this policy.
Well, yeah, but women's may be a little bit different. I know
Whitman-
Hanson tabled it last night, so
Oh, they did?
so I'm going to make a motion that we table it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right, thanks, Robbie.
Seconded? All those in favor?
I'm sorry, I didn't see who seconded.
Dan and Robbie. Okay.
We'll revisit it.
Yeah, they tabled it till they get more information, because then it's probably a good idea to bring the town administrator in.
We did this several years ago for Whitman, but it didn't require a vehicle efficiency
Yeah.
policy. We
No,
had to
that's the
do a
big
letter that we found the other day that we did, but we didn't do that. But this is something that would be very beneficial to the district if the town of Hanson determines to go with being a green community, because it helps us.
Part of it is, Ruth, it's very expensive to do. We looked
I
into it,
know,
too.
I know it is.
Okay, donations. School Committee, Sue Moss would like to donate the following items for use at the Whitman-Hanson Regional School System. Canon EOS 50D body, serial number 09205004041, value $250. Canon EF S 24mm f2.8 lens, serial number 51011111871, value $130. This is a pretty high-end camera. I do some stuff. A 50D is a pretty big money camera. I'd entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. We don't have any field trips. We have no surplus.
I think we're fine.
Okay. We just had a meeting, so I'd entertain a motion to table subcommittee reports.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, we need to, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session, and I'll read you the purpose. Purpose number 6 is to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. The land is adjacent to the Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, and yes, I do declare that. Also, the second purpose is going to be purpose number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation of position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and I do, and we will be giving updates for B, C, and D units.
Motion. Second.
Voice vote.
Yes.
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 When we come out of executive session, the only vote we will be entertaining is to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.